You know that feeling when plans get canceled? Instead of guilt, you just feel this massive, immense wave of relief. Or maybe you intentionally ignore a text message just to have an extra hour of pure silence. You recharge alone. You think better alone. And somewhere along the way, someone probably made you feel like that was a problem. Well, welcome to this explainer, where we're going to completely unpack the hidden architecture of your solitude. So I want you to really think about it. Why do you actually prefer being alone? Society loves to push this myth that needing a lot of solitude is some kind of personality flaw or a sure sign that you're just antisocial. But what if it's not a flaw at all? What if it's actually something much deeper than that? Well, here is where the paradigm completely shifts. It turns out your preference for solitude is often a remarkably brilliant psychological adaptation. It's quite literally a survival strategy that your mind built, usually way back in childhood, to keep you safe when your environment was unpredictable. Let's break down the 6 hidden patterns that explain exactly why you operate this way. Let's dive right into the first pattern, insecure attachment. Imagine growing up and just never really knowing which version of your caregiver you were going to get. Warm and loving one day, cold and distant the next. When that happens, your young developing nervous system learns one very logical, very concrete lesson. Connection is unpredictable, and therefore, it's a massive risk. When childhood love feels that inconsistent, your brain creates a highly effective adult adaptation. You keep your emotional distance. You gravitate towards solitude simply because, well, it's stable. It never suddenly changes its mood on you, and it never cancels on you. It's an environment where you have complete and total control. Pattern number 2 is emotional neglect. And this one is tricky because it's usually about what didn't happen. It's that subtle, quiet experience of having your inner world repeatedly shut down. If your feelings were constantly treated as an inconvenience, or if you were always told you were just overreacting, that leaves a very real, invisible scar. To protect you from that constant invalidation, your mind creates a very strict rulebook. Step 1, stop explaining yourself. Step 2, stop expressing how you feel. Step 3, handle absolutely everything alone. Today, when life gets messy or hard, your gut instinct is to withdraw. And that's not out of weakness. It's because you were literally trained to believe your feelings are a burden to other people. That naturally brings us to forced emotional independence. For some of you watching, you didn't choose to be so independent. You were pushed into it way too early in life. You had to play the role of the strong one and figure out incredibly complex problems all by yourself, usually because asking for help was met with criticism or frustration. Over time, that early experience cements into a rigid core identity. I can only rely on myself. Now, on the surface, that looks like this incredible, unbreakable self-sufficiency. But underneath, there's a severe discomfort with vulnerability. You choose to be alone rather than risk depending on someone who might ultimately let you down. Okay, moving on to pattern 4, social overload. If you grew up in a highly chaotic or high-tension environment, your poor nervous system had to constantly stay on high alert. In that context, other people didn't represent safe socialization or fun. They were a source of overwhelming, unpredictable, emotional noise. Because of that background, interacting with the world today is just constant heavy stimulation for you. The noise, the emotional expectations, it's a lot. So choosing solitude is absolutely not laziness or avoidance. It is the literal physical recovery of a totally drained nervous system. It's basically the only place where you can finally truly exhale. Pattern 5 is high sensitivity. And let's be absolutely clear right off the bat. This is a profound trait, not a wound or flaw. Highly sensitive people absorb energy like a sponge. You're the kind of person who walks into a room and instantly picks up on subtle tensions and moods that literally everyone else ignores. And that is exactly why alone time is so incredibly vital for you. It's where you wring out the sponge. Stepping back into solitude isn't hiding. It's the required, mandatory maintenance you need to process all those absorbed emotions, rebalance your mind, and just breathe at your own natural pace. Pattern 6, selective connection. Now, this pattern completely shifts how we view solitude. You see, there is a massive difference between being lonely and being alone. Loneliness is that painful, deep ache of lacking connection. But being alone, that's intentional. You don't hate connection, not at all. You are just highly selective, completely refusing to settle for any relationship that doesn't feel genuinely 100% safe.
When you really zoom out and look at all these patterns together, it completely rewrites the narrative. Solitude was not your weakness, it was your solution. You adapted into it because, frankly, it felt a whole lot safer than being misunderstood or let down. Your mind successfully protected you, and honestly, you should honor that.
But here's the catch. The exact same patterns that protected you can end up limiting you if they're left on autopilot. Now that we've mapped out the architecture of your solitude, you have the power to move from an automatic, invisible survival mode to a conscious, healthy, intentional practice. It's about finally trusting yourself enough to leave the door open, just a little bit, for the connections that actually matter. So, I want to leave you with this one provocative question to chew on. Do you choose solitude, or do you default to it? Which of these 6 patterns resonated the most deeply with your own life? Let me know down in the comments below. And hey, if this explainer helped you understand a part of yourself today, share it with someone who really needs to hear it. Until next time, keep learning and keep choosing what's best.